Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. For I have come to call not the righteous, but sinners. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. These are the words of Jesus as he tells the Pharisees who have come up to him while he's having a good old time eating and drinking with Matthew's friends, right? They're the tax collectors and the sinners, because Matthew has followed Jesus and now he's throwing a party and has invited his friends. And who do tax collectors hang out with? Other tax collectors, right? And so he's having dinner and Jesus is there and they're like, why are you hanging out with these bad people? And Jesus says to them, go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. And Jesus didn't come up with these words. Jesus is quoting Hosea. He's quoting the prophet Hosea, who's quoting God. Because in the book of Hosea, God, through Hosea, is saying to God's people of Israel, stop asking what you need to do and how you're going to be reconciled back to me. You keep wondering because things aren't going well for the people of Israel during the time of Hosea. And they're like, what have we done? What do we need to do? Everything's not right for us. Should we give more doves? No. Maybe we need to give, lambs. No. We need to give the full bull. Maybe if we sacrifice that, God will pay attention to us once again. And through Hosea, God says, no. What I need from you is steadfast love. What I need from you is mercy. What I need from you is to love me and love your neighbors. Stop trying to figure out what you need to do. You know what to do. I want mercy. I want you to love one another. And that's what happened back in Hosea. And so what is Jesus saying to his people now? Go figure out, what did Hosea say? What did God say back in those days? That's what I'm doing. I am giving mercy. I am putting people back into right relationship. Those who have been cast aside, those have been put away, those who are no longer seen as worthy and valuable. I am showing mercy because that is what God asked us to do. I am doing what God asked us to do, showing mercy, not sacrifice. And so here this morning in our gospel, Jesus does 3 miracles. 3. And they're all about restorative justice. They're all about restoring people back into community, back into right relationship with each other. Matthew, the tax collector, he's sitting behind his booth collecting taxes, right? And as people go through, he's probably in this he's probably outside the gate, the city or the township or the village, as people are bringing in their wares and their goods to sell, right? What does he do? He taxes them, because you got to give money to the Roman emperor, right? The Rome requires these people to pay their taxes. And so they're coming through and he's taxing them. And Jesus comes up to him and says, come, follow me. And so Matthew leaves his booth and joins Jesus. And he's been separated. He's been seen as somebody who is the bad guy, dealing, in cahoots with the bad people who oppress people. Because, tax collectors were not well regarded. Who likes the IRS today? Right? So, out, gets restored back in. There's this woman who's been sick for 12 years. 12 years, a hemorrhaging woman for 12 years. She's not right, she's not healthy, she's sick. But not only is she sick, she's seen as someone who's untouchable, because a bleeding woman in those days was cast aside. So she doesn't just have her monthlies. This is it. This is her normal state for 12 years. So she has been cast out, pushed aside, not in right relationship with her community. And so she reaches out and she touches his cloak. And instead of saying, yuck, don't touch me. You're going to make me dirty too. Get away from me. You're not worthy. You're other. You're sickly. You're not right. You must have done something wrong. Get away from me. Is that what Jesus does? No. Instead, he turns to her and says, your faith, your trust has made you well. And off she goes, back into community, back into right relationship. She's no longer an outcast. She has been cleaned and healed, repaired, restored. And then, this desperate father who's just lost his daughter. If you see the words of the gospel here, it is so powerful. What does he do? A leader comes and he kneels. What does it say here? Came in and knelt before him. Knelt before Jesus. So broken, so desperate that he kneels. He's a leader, and he's going to this person who is, not a leader, and kneels before and says, please, I know you can make my daughter right. And again, Jesus doesn't say, yeah, it's dead, that's it, done. Not even death he turns away. He's not even afraid of death. Jesus goes to this place, and people have given up. They're playing the flute, and there's a commotion. Imagine going into a home where there's really the funeral rites have begun. And so those flutes are not flutes of joy, they're flutes of sadness. They're flute playing, and what they're meaning is that the funeral services have started. And the commotion is not a dance, the commotion is people wailing and crying and sad because this little girl has died. And he says, it's okay, it's going to be all right. And the people's response is, they laughed. What are you kidding me? It's over. Who are you fooling? They're beyond repair. They're beyond communion. They're beyond. It's over. And Jesus says, no. Not even death can separate anyone from God and God's love. And the daughter stands up. Right relationship returns. And we can think of so many times where we may have given up on a relationship. We have said no more. You've gone too far. You're too bad. You're not worthy of coming back into our community. You've done some heinous things. No more. No more second chances or third or fourth. We give up. We discard. We separate. We build barriers. We cancel people out. They've said something so terrible. They're too politically incorrect. They're too woke. Whichever version, whichever side, right? They're out. But if we are called Jesus' disciples, if we call ourselves Jesus' disciples, what is Jesus telling us? What does Jesus ask of us? That we too are called for this restorative justice. We too are called to forgive. We too are called to be merciful. We too are called to bring people back into right relationships, no matter how hard, no matter what lost cause it may seem, no matter if we think it's not repairable. We're called to try. We're called to do this. Now, it's not easy, and it's not clean. We sometimes get it wrong. It gets messy. People get hurt. But that doesn't mean we should stop. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. You know, yesterday I was driving to meet my family. I was driving with my parents and my husband, and we were going to meet my in-laws at a restaurant. And we're driving down South Congress, and as I'm driving, I look to the right, and I see a man, not standing, not sitting, but lying down, mostly on the street, probably the bike lane on South Congress, but his feet were on the sidewalk, and most of his body was just laying on the floor, on the street. And I would like to say that I pulled over to see if he was okay. I would like to say that maybe I called 311 or 911 and said there's a man lying on the street. But I didn't. I kept driving. I made a point of it. I said how horrible, but I kept driving. It has become too normal. It has become part of just what we see in our community. That we don't even stop to say what has happened to us. That we don't think everybody deserves to be part of our community, of home, a place to put their head, someone who cares for each other and one another. It's become normal to see people in front of our church, on the corner, everywhere, in our parks, in our buildings, everywhere. It has become normal. And so I say this because we cannot do this just on our own. We need Jesus' help. We need Jesus' courage. We need Jesus' spirit so that we can do what Jesus calls us to do. The woman reached out to Jesus. She touched his cloak, saying, "Help me." The man calls on Jesus to help him with his dead daughter. Those desperate cases, those desperate situations, we can't do them on our own. We need Jesus' help. Because it is through Jesus' courage, through Jesus' power, that then we can say, this isn't normal. No one should be lying on the street. No one should be begging for food. No one should be sleeping in front of our church. Everybody deserves dignity. Everybody deserves respect. Everybody deserves to be welcomed back into our community, no matter what. No matter what. Because Jesus doesn't give up on us. We shouldn't give up on others. And so I pray that we pay attention and that we go on and we try to go and learn, what does this mean? That I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Amen. Amen. I invite you all to stand as you are able so that we may receive.